Hi everyone, my name is Valerie, and in this video I will examine one of the earliest attempts to predict the future using an old Babylonian clay tablet that is inscribed with the cuneiform omens that are describing signs found in the organs of the sacrifice ship. So I have started with choosing the omen for the investigation. What I did is I went through all the omens that were listed on the translation that is done by Ula Jace, and they were kind of similar to me personally. I wouldn't say that something really stood out, and they were just either easy or difficult to interpret. And I think that I found something in between, which is 35th omen, that says if the apex of the heart to the left is strewn with filaments, meaning obstruction for the enemy's prince. Then I investigate further. I was trying to match the line of the omen from the translation to the transliteration, and I actually kind of like hit an obstacle because for some reason the lines didn't match. And when I was trying to translate the word on the 35th line on the transliteration, I for some reason got the word master that appeared earlier on that appeared later on the 36 and 37 lines. But after some investigation, I figure out that they're probably just a little mismatch, and the 33rd line is actually correct. Then I went through a syllable chart. Initially I was trying to match the cuneiform itself with a syllable, but it was really difficult because all the cuneiforms that were either on the tablet or on the drawing, they were too close to each other and they were kind of overlapping. So it was so difficult to kind of interpret them and understand which syllable matches with the cuneiform. So then I looked at the drawing, and the also matched it with the right line on the transliteration. After that, it wasn't really difficult for me to find the desired omen on the high resolution image of the tablet, because there is a little gap in between these two cuneiforms that creates this kind of shape that is pretty easy to identify. And even though the line here is kind of like on the angle, it still was easy to find. And also there is a little trace that is also visible here and here that is also kind of confirmed to me that is the same thing. And later I was trace some Babylonian words across the table. I was able to find some words especially from my omen, and those are throw, thickering, and whom, and they were quite exactly the same. They were matching the translation that is done by Ula Jace, and then I tried to investigate a little further, and I understood that most likely those translations were like the first meaning of the word. And looking at the dictionary translation, I figure out that, for example, in this case, thickering, fourth meaning is a kind of construction, which basically means obstruction in this case. So all the other words had the same thing, and that kind of confirmed to me that is probably right. Also, instead of finding these exact words throughout the tablet, I found that there were not a lot of cases of that, and the most obvious pattern to me was the word gub, which means left, and left appears in all the omens that later means something related to enemy, either it's enemy's prince or it's enemy's army, etc. And as you can see, also gub means in the left, but for example cur in our case translated as strange, but But the dictionary also said that is strange, either foreign, or it could be also interpreted as enemy. So everything was matching. So what do these omens reveal about the priorities or fears of those in power in ancient Babylonia? So first of all, I would say that one way or another, all the omens are talking about the war, and that tells me that people back then, they really feared to be conquered, to be defeated, and they really value their civilization, especially Babylon back in the day being the most the civilization with the most population, and they kind of maybe even put kind of pressure on themselves that they have to kind of like keep that status. That's why they had to win, and they really feared to lose anything. And the most surprising part would probably be the way I start perceiving the tablet after the research, because at the very beginning it was very confusing, and after I've done the examine, I would say that everything really makes sense, and the layout on the tablet is pretty understandable. And in terms of hierarchy, I think that was really surprising to me that people even back then were able to structure everything that precisely. And the most confusing part was basically the cuneiforms themselves, and I totally understand that due to different tools and the environment that people were living in, they couldn't just afford to create anything more understandable. So yeah, that's probably be it. Thanks so much.